All right, on this episode of Bare Knuckle Bowker, very excited to be talking to an individual set to compete at BKFC 67, which goes down on October the 25th. And definitely going to be a very intriguing bout to follow along with. It's the stateside debut after some impressive showings on the BKFC circuit in Canada with Dusty Sparks taking on Hasan Al Ghanim. And great getting to have Hasan back on Bare Knuckle Bowker. How's your day going, man?
It's going good. Finished my work earlier today, and I'm actually at the back of the gym right now. Just finished my run.
Yeah, and that was quite a night, man. I mean, a lot to talk about with the upcoming fight, but I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't touch on the last one. It's obviously a big night for you with that victory over Ryan Ibsen, but Drew Stuvo pulling out in the main event as you got your co-main event victory. It
Mhm.
seemed like it would have been a big night for the team.
Yeah, it was actually a really, really big night for the team. We were lucky to go. I think it was 8-0. So that's always a good thing when nobody loses on our team, right?
Yeah, there's something about that Wolfhouse preparation. Like it seems like, I mean, obviously you guys have, that great fight IQ and whatnot individually, and I feel like Ryan Ford is such a, massive asset, and you guys have like all the technical kind of components there. But I mean, what would you say, I guess, is like the reasoning for why you guys have been, succeeding so well? Because it seems like your team has really, just found such a fit within the scene. Like it seems like the Wolfhouse takeover is imminent.
I mean, all of us actually came from boxing, right? So we all have amateur boxing fights or professional boxing fights. It's not something we picked up like a week ago where we just jump in the BKFC ring, like some other guys do it. No, we've been practicing, we've been training, we've been sharpening our tools over years. What some people over 10 years, right? So it's not like we just jumped into the ring right away, right? So yeah, that's why we've been succeeding a lot.
Yeah, no, it's great to see, man. And I mean, I feel like you got another, very succinct victory there in that last outing as well, getting the victory inside of 73 seconds. Like, was that, I guess, the consummate performance you could have hoped for? I mean, dropping your opponent multiple times and getting the victory in that succinct of a fashion must have, felt pretty good. Like, was that the consummate victory you could have hoped for there?
I feel like that victory was a really good victory for me. There's a lot more I could show, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to. Uh, but I feel like it was a really good victory overall.
Yeah, and I feel like it served the master at least for something you indicated as a goal and even some past articles I've seen spotlighting you and whatnot. Just this idea of wanting to, get on that main stage and fight stateside. Like when did you, I guess, initially get word about this upcoming opportunity you have here? Because it would seem like an exciting moment for you.
Right after that last one, actually, my coach hinted that there was a few upcoming cards that they needed to fill. Uh, Obviously, nothing was set in stone at the time, and it was just talks. And then Nate Shook called up my manager Parvez and gave him the opportunity. Well, gave me the opportunity through him, you could say, uh, to fight. And obviously, I'm never gonna say no to any fight. So right away, right when they sent the contract signed, sent back, didn't even look at the name, didn't care.
Yeah, it would have seemed like you, oh, my cat's making a little cameo. But yeah, I was gonna say it would seem like yeah, just like the perfect unfurling of events in a certain regard. I guess I feel like the obligatory question people always ask whenever fights are in Denver, like, is there something to that higher altitude where maybe you might even navigate trying to get out a bit early to get acclimated to it at all? Or is it one of those things where it's like if you come in shape, it should be good either way and you can kind of adapt to it from there, I guess.
I mean, with my two previous fights, I wasn't able to go the distance, so nobody actually knows how conditioned I actually am. So with this fight here, I'm more than confident with my conditioning to be able to work in that higher altitude easily.
Yeah, do you feel like this fight will offer, I guess, a chance to show some of the different dimensions to your game? Because, I mean, like you were saying from your, previous fights, like obviously great to have impressive performances, but at the same time, you're not showing off like the full depth of, what you're capable of. So is there something in this fight where you maybe foresee an opportunity to be able to do that? Like, do you think you'll be able to showcase more in this fight in that kind of sense, like as far as showing more tools or, aspects to your game?
Yeah, my goal for this fight is to show just my pure boxing skills. Everything that I learned from boxing and bring it into the BKFC ring and just show that boxing works. Austin Trout showed it. I'm just gonna show it again.
Yeah, and he seems to be giving you a lot of love. Like the first time we talked, I was referencing how he kind of shouted out how impressive your debut win was, but I saw on another post where he seemed enthusiastic after your second BKFC fight there. So, I mean, that seems cool.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of love from a lot of the fighters. Austin Trout, HD, uh, Soto, who's fighting this upcoming weekend. I think it's this weekend. Yeah, it is this weekend. A lot of those guys are kind of seeing what I bring to the table, right? They might be just following me just to see, or might be supporting me. Who knows, right?
Yeah, and I guess kind of just your rapid rise in BKFC so far. I feel like it breeds a bit of that, like the support component, but also people, I guess, kind of coming out to, trash talk a little bit. Like I think I saw Ruben Warr was kind of doing that a little bit on a somewhat recent post there. Is that something that you kind of see as just, I guess, part and parcel with, having a, good trajectory within the sport? Like, do you kind of just take it for what it is in a sense? Because I feel like there's been a few people trying to like call you out and get your attention in that kind of regard.
I think honestly, it's funny that you brought up the reason why he was telling me to sign a contract that he didn't even sign to begin with. So I don't know, but it feels like a lot of these guys. Well, he's an older guy. He's an experienced guy. I'm just using Ruben Warr as an example. He's an experienced guy. A lot of these guys, they see younger guys getting all this spotlight, and they want a part of it, right? They want to show that they could still stand with all of us. A lot of them can, but some of them can't, right?
Yeah, and like I said, I think it's just indicative of like they see this trajectory you're on just with like impressive showings on the BKFC Canada circuit and now getting to, fight on the, I guess, like numbered events, permutation
Mm-hmm.
of BKFC. So yeah, I guess it's kind of just part and parcel with, your upward mobility in the sport and all that.
Yeah, and it's just gonna keep going higher and higher from here. Gonna win this upcoming fight, and then we'll see what's next. Whether they come back to Canada or keep fighting in the U.S. or somewhere around the world.
Yeah, and it sounds like based on how you even kind of described it there, that you're essentially down for whatever. Like you'll, fight on their Canadian circuit if it represents a good opportunity, but also seems like the US shows would, fit you nicely and then also down for some other international opportunities. Because I mean, you even referenced the card that's coming up this weekend as of this recording and whatnot, just the fact they're going to Spain and just seems like the, I guess, international expansion is really big for them. So yeah, I guess it's good to be open and kind of just down for whatever opportunity may come your way.
Yeah, and I know David Feldman had a meeting with some guys in the Middle East, but this was like months ago. They took a couple pictures for Instagram, so there's a possibility we might be going to my hometown, right? We might be going to the Middle East, probably not to Iraq, but somewhere in the Middle East.
Yeah, that would be cool because I do remember that. I think it was like some of the UAE Warriors
Yeah.
personnel were kind of doing that. Yeah, that'd be cool because I haven't really heard like much subsequent to that, but you would think that something, promising is in the works for sure.
For sure, and obviously, they want their stars to fight in their home countries, hometowns, whatever it is, right? So, having me coming up and having a little bit of fans in the Middle East might be a possibility, right?
And I guess how much, if at all, does I guess going from these, prospect cards to like the main numbered stages, like I guess how much of your approach may change just in the context of like the prospect events use the smaller ring dimensions and then the, I guess, numbered events tend to use the rings that do have the bigger dimensions. I mean, probably doesn't change a great deal. If anything, maybe it, goes into your pedigree a little bit more just because you were talking about how long you've been boxing and the pedigree you have within that. So maybe even the bigger ring will allow you to showcase some other aspects of that boxing knowledge. But I kind of just thought to ask, like, is there any I guess, great differences that you could see popping up when you're in the larger ring for this Denver fight as opposed to some of your previous BKFC Canada fights?
The only difference it's gonna make is my opponent is gonna have a little bit more space to run away from me.
Yeah, I guess I figured I'd ask because I remember I was talking to Drew Stuvo about just wanting to be on like one of the numbered kind of events, and I think he was looking at it from the perspective of he'd kind of have that greater space to kind of, I guess, like showcase the more sweet science parts of the game as opposed to like being in that more compact space that kind of like
Mhm.
allows the fight to almost play out in a different kind of way. But yeah, I kind of like the way you're, discussing it there, and it does kind of make sense. I mean, your BKFC results so far definitely speak to that as far as like your opponents would probably want to like stay outside of that range.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, when we're here at the Wolfhouse, we train in a full size boxing ring. We train in a full size MMA ring as well, like a cage. So we pretty much replicate that one for one with the BKFC ring, right? Same kind of, almost the same size, but not really. It's a lot bigger than the prospect rings, that's for sure.
And what do you know about your opponent coming up for this card here? Like, was this someone that you had to, I guess, like delve a little bit into with like any kind of tape study or just like firming up the knowledge at all? Because it seems like he has some bare knuckle boxing experience, albeit on a different circuit and getting ready to make his BKFC specific debut here. Like, what are your thoughts on Dusty Sparks as far as like some of the skills he brings to the table you may or may not have seen since the bout got locked in?
Uh, I know he's a Muay Thai fighter. I know he's only had one bare knuckle fight before. Uh, but none of that matters to me. Yeah, honestly, it doesn't matter to me. So,
Like just in the sense that like it's all about, I guess, what you're looking to implement in the fight, and just regardless of who your opponent is, the hyper fixation on what they're gonna do isn't there so much. Like, is that kind of what you're touching on?
yeah, it's uh off the table, right? So, if for instance he withstands my power, I'm just gonna outbox him. If he can't withstand my power, he gets to go to sleep. It's as simple as that, right? I could go 5 rounds if I need. I could go 1 round if I need to.
Yeah, for sure. It just seems like such a great time for you. Like I'd seen a recent feature that the BKFC website had done on you where you seemed obviously understandably confident about not just getting the third straight stoppage victory, but even just in terms of like potentially getting a world championship crack in 2025. Like, I mean, you answered it in kind of like a, I guess, measured enough way. Like you're talking about how it's a very distinct possibility, but at the same time, you're going to keep doing what you're doing and moving up the rankings. But like, how much of a defined focus is, I guess, that whole thing just, potentially getting to like the point of contending for a world title? Like, that would seem like a classic capstone kind of achievement a lot of fighters tend to look at.
I mean, right now it's a vacant title, the 155, right? And the 145 is held by Kai Stewart. So there's a big lineup of guys that have fought in the BKFC longer than me, have more wins in the BKFC than me, that have just more experience than me, right? So I have to build myself up, work my way up the rankings. I don't expect the title shot, just to come after 3 wins kind of thing, So I have to hopefully beat somebody or fight somebody in the top five, maybe top 10 if they have that, hidden ranking somewhere, and then go from there, right? But I hope sometime in the 2025 to get a crack.
The way you outlined it's kind of interesting. It would seem like you have title aspirations at either lightweight or featherweight, depending on what pans out.
Yeah, I mean, you see me fight. I'm not ripped abs, right? I could go down to 145 if I wanted to. I'm just I'm just staying at 155 because it's a comfortable walk around weight for me.
Yeah, I guess it's just good to have options in the different weight categories, though. But it is cool to see that there's some clarity at the top for the lightweight division because, yeah, there was such a period after Luis Palomino had kind of made his focus more defined to like welterweight competition and stuff like that. And just seemed like there was a particular level of uncertainty at the top part of that weight category. So, yeah, good to see that there's going to be some level of clarity after the fight coming up this weekend as of this recording.
Yeah, it's exciting because for the like you said, for the last little bit, the whole division was kind of at a standstill. Everybody was like, some people were fighting here and there, but for nothing, right? The rankings didn't move, nothing really changed. But now, excuse me, now we have the vacant title fight coming up this weekend, and there is going to be a championship whether somebody pulls out of the fight or not. Because I heard they have backup fighters, so
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of like the new standard in the last number of years. Like you got to have like someone kind of on deck in the event that something kind of happens there. I mean, hopefully not,
mhm.
obviously. I mean, it looks like a great fight with Franco Tenaglia and Tony Soto there and everything like that. And yeah, no, just an interesting time for sure. Like the fact that they're doing it in like a bullfighting arena and stuff like that. And I guess just too, like I wasn't really even intending to ask this, but just with, Franco Tenaglia, holding European gold with the BKFC. I mean, maybe we can get some BKFC Canada titles going someday too. Like maybe some of the other Wolfhouse lads can kind of have something to, work towards and stuff like that. It'd be kind of cool to see that.
Hey, if they have European titles, why can't they have like a North American title or, like you said, a Canadian title and have the world titles out of the US? That'd be something pretty cool, right? It'd give the Canadian market something to pursue.
Yeah, just something that would kind of even add to the shows as well at this point. But even,
Yeah.
I guess, in saying that, it kind of seems like even the BKFC name is what's really drawing people out there. Like, I think people hear BKFC and bare knuckle and whatnot, and people just seem like enthusiastic off of that already, but could be something to look at for them in the long term. I mean, I'm obviously biased being a Canadian lad, but would be cool to see.
Yeah, it's I'm gonna be biased too, and it is gonna be pretty cool to see if they do decide to pursue that. But they'll grow the market tenfold here in Canada, because we'll have boxers, Muay Thai fighters that leave those specific martial arts and move into bare knuckle boxing, just because there is gonna be a champion here in Canada, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, it's such a unique sport because, like you said, there's so many people from different disciplines that can entertain crossing over. And I mean, realistically, each discipline has its own kind of distinct attributes that can lend itself well to this sport. I think if it exists in concert to like realizing it's ultimately going to be its unique combat sports approach in its own right. But I mean, you could really get people from Muay Thai or, gloved boxing or MMA that have skill set that can cross over certainly, but there's also going to be some amendments that need to be made to make it work for a sport that I guess is new as far as like, coming back, like obviously a very traditional sport having been around for over a century, but yeah, just kind of an interesting time for it in that sense, just ultimately giving fighters more opportunities as well.
Yeah, that's what it seems like, because we have MMA fighters in top five ranking. We have boxers in the top five. We have Muay Thai fighters in the top five, right? See, like, when you start understanding the whole entire discipline behind bare knuckle and what you need to pull from your current discipline into it and start adapting, it changes everything. And some of those guys, including myself, it seems like we figured that out.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, man. And it was great to see this opportunity announced for you. I think I was just kind of scrolling the BKFC site and seeing just the general lay of the land, what the promotion kind of had planned coming up. And when I saw your name on that Denver card, I definitely thought that was cool. I feel like it'll probably be a broader trend that we see among a lot of the Wolfhouse guys. Like I've said before, like I feel like you guys have just such like a great formula and a great approach to this game. Like you're always, looking to strive and learn more and refine that specific approach. But it seems like you guys have really locked into that and whatnot. Like I feel like we're gonna see guys like Drew Stuvo and some other individuals kind of pop up on that American kind of stage sooner than later, I would think.
Yeah, you're gonna see a lot more of us, not just in the American stage, but worldwide. Because I'm definitely gonna, after I win this fight, they're gonna call me again.
And I guess that kind of like ties into what we were talking about before, where you were like, oh, I could make featherweight, but 155 is a good walking around weight. Like, if anything, 155 might even facilitate you having that more, I guess, consistent sort of strength of schedule. Like, if you do get a performance here that's similar to your prior ones, I could easily see you getting a quicker kind of turnaround effort there. So maybe like a 155 thing would kind of fit nicely even in that context, I guess.
Mm, for sure, for sure. I mean, when they sent the contract for this fight, I was already on weight. There's no need for me to cut, right? So it's just walking around weight for me, right?
No, for sure, man. Just so cool. I mean, just such a rapid rise in this sport. I mean, you've had, like I said, the, quick performances to kind of facilitate that, but on such a, great trajectory and whatnot, and just great getting to have you back on Bare Knuckle Bowker to, talk a bit again, Hasan. But I also want to be mindful of what you're getting up to the rest of the day as well, man. So curious if maybe you have a final thought you wanted to add as we're kind of wrapping up. I do appreciate you making the time.
Oh, no worries, man. I'm just gonna go back right into training right now. Go for maybe like a 5K run, maybe some sprints, I don't know, and then just do things, you know, just do training.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. You're always putting in that work, and it's gonna be great to, see this next fight at BKFC 67 against Dusty Sparks. I'm definitely stoked for the card overall, and I'm sure that's a shared sentiment among many bare knuckle fans who will be peeping on October 25th. But again, to reiterate, thanks for coming on Bare Knuckle Bowker again, and just yeah, looking forward to checking out the fight when it goes down. But until then, you have a good rest of your day, Hasan, and yeah, thanks so much, man.
Thank you. Talk to you next.